What's up, guys? Thought I'd grab a beer, sit down, and we'll do a little bit of a check-in on what 1 year with my Quadrifoglio has looked like. And we'll talk a little bit about why it actually wasn't running for most of the last week. So let's get into it. Just jumping right into it, let's talk about what I've needed to have done to the car from a maintenance standpoint since I've owned it. So I bought the car on April 20th of 2020. So it's been a little bit over a year since I bought it. So it's been a little bit over a year now. And the first thing that I had done, the car had maybe 100 miles on it or so. And it had bounced between two dealerships. It was a Texas dealership, and then it got transferred to a brand new dealership in Florida. So it got a little bit of mileage on it from test drives, and the Florida dealership used it for some promotional content. Yeah, so about 100 miles on it. So I bought the car, sight unseen, just had a bunch of pictures and stuff. And one of the things that I had them do was change the oil on the car before it got sent to me. I figured 100 miles, I don't know how it's been dripping or anything like that. Let's just get it out of there, get fresh oil in it, and then I know the current state of the car. So the car got to me, and the first thing I had to do was take it to my local dealership because the dealership that I bought it from overfilled it with oil, and so I couldn't really drive it. So I had to go ahead and have that taken care of immediately. So my first service was basically two things. It was having the oil level reduced a little bit, so they drained a little bit of oil. And it was also having a minor squeak in the driver's side Sparco seat taken care of. No, I never actually got that fixed. But that's on me. It would have been a no-cost fix. It's still under warranty. I could still have that fixed. But actually what I had them fix was an issue with a little bit of a rattle in the driver's side door card. It ended up being associated with a piece of trim around the mirror switch on the driver's side. So that first service was having some of that oil removed and then having them look at the door rattle. The second service was going back to have that rattle taken care of. They replaced the piece in the door. It's better, but it's not totally fixed. But maybe this would be super annoying to other people, and you could chase this problem and it'd be no cost to you because it'd just be under warranty. But for me, it was good enough. So first and second service done in the first month of ownership. The first one very quickly, and then the second one whenever the part came in. So it was probably like 2, maybe 3 weeks later. Up to this point, no cost to me. The dealership I bought the car from did that initial oil change for free. They did it like off the books or whatever, and we'll come back to that. And then the second service was just warranty stuff, so no cost to me there either. And then I continued to drive and lightly modify the car. I didn't run into any issues along the way either. Yeah, that's interesting. As I reflect back on the last year, I feel like the car was in the dealership a couple of times, but that's because of the diagnosis along with that like oil change, or really like reduction. So I think in reflecting on it, like those are really the only two services that I had up until the annual service. This is where it potentially gets a little bit pricey, and so we'll talk about the annual service. I sometimes see people talk about this and worry about this on like Facebook groups and the forums and stuff like that. My previous experience is owning Porsches and BMWs. You know, with M cars and Porsches, there's a decent, annual service charge, but they take care of things in a way that I trust to keep the car running smoothly. Maybe you overpay a little bit for it, but peace of mind plus the documentation that you went to the dealership for this stuff can help in your resale, especially when you go private party. So I've been okay with doing that. So the annual service, I was prepared to pay probably $1,300 or so is what I was kind of mentally preparing for. But I had read on the forums at one point something about sometimes the first service being covered free. I wasn't sure if that would work for me because the first service that I actually had done on the car was the oil change right after I bought it. So I wasn't really sure if that was going to count against me or not. But it ends up being the case that, they did it off the books or something like that. And so when my annual service actually came up, that was taken care of for me for free. So that was, kind of a once over of the car, but also looking at the, doing an oil change and then looking at filters and replacing any of those that needed to be replaced and whatnot. And so that was at no cost to me. On a 2019 Quadrifoglio, that's included your first service. I can't speak to the other years. I did not own my 2017 long enough to have the annual service done. That was just because I traded out of it to get into a GT4 service. No cost to me. But what I did have done was I had them swap out the tires. So on my own, I bought from Tire Rack or Discount Tire a set of Pilot Super Sports in the OEM sizes. I would have liked to have been able to get Pilot Sport 4S's, but they just don't make them in the proper sizes for the car. I didn't really want to worry about potentially running a wider tire, especially because I am lowered on ST springs, and I do have spacers on all four corners. However, in retrospect, it probably would have been fine, but I wanted to play it safe, and I like running the OEM specification if I can. So let's go over the costs of maintenance so far. So I'll throw these up on the screen, but initial oil change at 100 miles, $0. Replacing the trim on the driver's side window switches, $0. Also $0 for reducing the oil in the car. Annual service, $0. Replacing the tires, it's about $150 for the labor to replace them. And I think it was about $1,300 including shipping. So at the end of the day, the first year of ownership on my 2019 Giulia Quadrifoglio cost me about $1,500 in actual maintenance items. I replaced the tires preventatively. I didn't super love the Pirellis on the car. They were wearing a little bit early, but I probably could have eked 2,000, maybe 3,000 more miles out of them just fine. I just wanted to go ahead and try something else out since they were already going to have the car. Pretty happy with the result on that, actually. I probably should have done a video talking about that a bit more. But that's it. My unreliable Alfa Romeo that everyone loves to ask about the reliability on has been completely bulletproof for me, and I've modified it decently in the first year of its life. So let's talk about why the car has not been running for the last week or so. Well, if you watched the last video, you saw that I did get some new exhaust parts. I have a couple of downpipes that came in from Alfissimo. They're catless downpipes, and I'm not going to be able to just throw those on the car and drive it like it's fine, right? Like, I'm going to get a check engine light if those just go on the car as is. It'll probably sound awesome, but that's, barely doing what needs to be done. So, also working with Alfissimo on this, I got the Squadra tune. I got their Massimo, Italian. I got their Maximum tune, right? And so, I alluded to this a little bit in my last video, but what I'm doing with this car is I'm trying to make the ideal OEM plus Quadrifoglio. So I want it to stand out from other Quadrifolios on the road, but I want people to look at it and be like, that's clean, it looks really good, and not think it looks cheap or anything like that. Like, it's important to me that it's, pretty OEM-ish, but a little bit better. A little bit better than what they would actually sell, because maybe it's a little bit too low for the average driver, or maybe it's a little too loud for the average person. But, it's just dialed up a notch. It's a little bit of plus. So, I was actually pretty set before talking to Jason at Alfissimo about the Squadra tune with having a bench tune done from Weistech. I think there are other tuning companies that offer this stuff, but generally a lot of these companies are working on several different platforms. The Giulia Quadrifoglio, as much as I wish it was a little bit more popular, is not that popular of a platform. And so anyone who is tuning BMWs, Audis, Mercedes, and also, this Alfa Romeo, is seeing way more of the other cars. They have way more data to collect and revise their tune and do things a little bit better and differently. And so, in talking to Jason, he reassured me that Squadra is focusing on their tune for Alfa Romeo. They released their tune for the 2-liter cars in advance of the 2.9-liter cars, and it seemed like they were being very careful and considerate with everything that they were doing. And the more I read about this tune, the numbers aren't the highest gains that you can you know, get, especially on a car with downpipes. I'm sure I could easily get 600 horsepower, but there was so much emphasis on the drivability of the car and improvements around everyday driving characteristics of the car and some of the quirks that I've found in it that it made a lot of sense for me to chase this tune. It also ended up having to be the case that this tune's a little bit cheaper than some of the others. I think Wise Tech wants about $2,000 for their bench tune of the Quadrifoglio. And something that I had to adjust to coming from BMWs is this car doesn't have a lot of engineered sound, right? So what I mean is a lot of BMWs like burble and backfire a little bit. Think about the F90 M5 competition. That thing is crazy, the sound that it makes. And I love that. But there's something to be said about this kind of purist approach that Alfa Romeo took with this car. And I think it feels very Ferrari aligned, that they don't want to throw in all these ridiculous sounds in this car, and they want it to just kind of sound the way that it does. So no burble tune, no pops and bangs on my car, and I actually am pretty happy with that. You know, so again, a very driver focused tune. Relatively conservative, but you know, I don't want my car to blow up. Like I just talked about how much it didn't cost me in the first year of ownership, and so I don't want the second year of ownership to be triple that. So my car's been down for, today is Saturday. 9 days ago I started pulling the ECUs on the car. And this is the first time that I've ever actually removed ECUs from a car myself. Following most of the guides and stuff, it kind of didn't work out ideally for me. I couldn't get the wiper arms removed, so I had to improvise a little bit. And actually I had someone on Instagram reach out who follows me and give me some really good advice. Jumped on FaceTime, we kind of looked at everything. He showed me his car, which was currently taken apart a little bit, and we figured out how to go through and get the ECUs removed without pulling the wipers. Basically, you can remove the airbox, which will give you all the access that you need to get to that first ECU on the driver's side. And then from there, if you selectively start pulling things off, pull off the brace on the passenger side, remove all the clips on the left side of the cowl, and then kind of pull out the box where the cabin filter is contained, then you can start actually like getting to that second ECU a little bit better, and you can pull it out that way. And in doing that, you don't have to remove the entire cowl, you don't have to remove the windshield wiper arms. But for me, I just could not get the windshield wiper arms to break loose. I bought 2 tools, I bent one of them. Yeah, this was straight when I bought it, and pretty quickly bent that, even after like hitting it with PB Blaster like crazy. So yeah, shout out to Brian for helping me through that. I was getting pretty stuck after like 2 nights of coming out and working on the car and not being able to get those wiper arms off. I wasn't really sure how I was going to pull the ECUs and send them to California. Brian, yeah, he really saved the day. So SoCal_retrofit. I'll throw a screenshot of his Instagram up here, but SoCal_retrofit really helped me out, and because of him, I was actually able to get the ECUs removed and do this job in my garage at home. From there, I overnighted them to Southern California. Alfissimo tuned them the first morning that they had them, and then overnighted them back to me. And yeah, they went out Monday morning at 7:30 a.m. is when I dropped them off at UPS, and I got them back before 10:30 a.m. on Thursday. Got them back in the car Thursday night. It only took me about 2 hours to do the reinstallation, and you know, you do a modification like this, one of the scariest things is plugging everything back in under the hood, plugging the battery back in, and then actually turning on the car. And so when it started up on the first try, I was super surprised. Not because I didn't trust the tune, but because I didn't trust myself to have everything plugged back in. But plugged it all back in, and it was awesome. Yeah, I've got a lot more to say about the tune. I'm super happy with it. Alright, so that's a little bit about what my first year with this car has looked like. I want to get into, in the next video, a lot more about the tune and my impressions of the tune and the different things that it tweaks in all of the different modes. So I appreciate you guys watching this one, hanging out with me while I just kind of talk you through what this has been like. Let me know if you have any questions, and I have to do the annoying YouTube thing where I ask for you to like this video. If you did enjoy it, give it a thumbs down. If you didn't, I prefer that you didn't give it a thumbs down because that would probably not help me in the algorithm. But if you didn't like it, I do want to know that too. If you have any questions, leave those in the comments below. I truly do enjoy engaging with everyone on these videos. If you have a Giulia, if you don't have a Giulia, if you're just generally interested in these, I try to respond to all the comments. I try to be responsive on the forums and on Facebook and anywhere else that I am too. So this is fun for me. Let's keep doing this. And then in the next video, you can expect me to talk about my concrete impressions from the Squadra in my 2019 Giulia Quadrifoglio. Oh yeah. You guys want to see the next video too, because tomorrow morning we're picking up a puppy. She's super cute. And I'll show my other dog too. We already have a dog, he's 3 years old. He's awesome. He's a corgi. But yeah, picking up a puppy tomorrow. So, you know, as if it wasn't hectic enough around here, modifying this car, raising a 10-month-old, already have a dog, but we're adding more to the mix. So, should be fun. Alright, see you guys.